Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is Maya, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys some books that you should be adding to your fall TBR that were written by Black authors. So these are all going to be like kind of spooky books or cozy mysteries or like fantastical books that were written by Black people that I think are perfect for, you know, this fall season. So let's get into it. Here's the thing, I do not want to read books about Black people going through trauma because they are Black. That's my real life. I have to live that. So you're probably not going to get like, okay, so how do I say this? I don't want to read that in fiction. So I might read a nonfiction book that has that, or like a short story collection, but I don't want to read an entire novel based on trauma of Black people because they're Black. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to consume that in any form. I want to read books about Black people doing normal everyday things. Like that's what I want to read. So that's why most of this list is going to be that. Like it's not like oh, you were murdered by police. Like I don't want to read anything about that. I don't want to read anything about being murdered, kidnapped, none of that for being Black. I don't want to read nothing. I don't want to read nothing like that. Nothing like that. Okay, not a damn thing. Zero. None. Nada. None. Nothing. So I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, so the first book that you should be adding to your TBR that is written by a Black author is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. So I've heard a lot about this book. I'm really excited to pick it up. And just a disclaimer, I'm interested in most of the books on there. I have so all of the books on this TBR I'm interested in, but I have like different levels of interest in them. This is just kind of like a guide for you based on what I found. So let's get into what No One Is Watching is about. So I'm going to read, for all these, I'm just going to read the blurb. So Sydney Green is Brooklyn born and raised, but her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting like weeds, for sale signs are popping up overnight, and the neighbors she's known all her life are disappearing. To hold on to her community's past and present, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant and one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other, or themselves, long enough to find out before they too disappear? So this is kind of like a thriller based on gentrification, and I think that this is super interesting and I'm really excited to pick it up. So the next book that I'm going to mention is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. So let's get into what Grown is about. When Enchanted Jones wakes with blood on her hands and zero memory of the previous night, no one, the police and Corey's fans included, has more questions than she does. All she really knows is that this isn't how things are supposed to be. Corey was Enchanted's ticket to stardom. Before there was a dead body, Enchanted was an aspiring singer struggling with her tight-knit family's recent move to the suburbs while trying to find her place as a lone Black girl in high school. But then legendary R&B artist Corey Fields spots her at an audition, and suddenly her dream of being a professional singer takes flight. Enchanted is dazzled by Corey's luxurious life, but soon her dream turns into a nightmare. Behind Corey's charm and star power hides a dark side. One that wants to control her every move, with rage and consequences. Except now he's dead and the police are at the door. Who killed Corey Fields? So I think that this is a really interesting thriller where, you know, that involves Black people. Yeah, there's a cool thriller. The next book is Lester by Raven Leilani. So Lester sees a young Black woman figuring her way into life as an artist and into love in this darkly comic novel. She meets Eric, a digital archivist with a family in New Jersey, including an autopsist wife who has agreed to an open marriage. In this world of contemporary sexual manners and racial politics, Eddie finds herself unemployed and living with Eric. She becomes a hesitant friend to his wife and a de facto role model to his adopted daughter. Eddie is the only Black woman young Akila may know. So I think this is so interesting for a ton of reasons. I think that like this open marriage, like polyamorous situation is fascinating to me, and I want to read more books like that. So if you guys have any books on like polygamy and polyamory, let me know, because I'm super fascinated with those topics. That alone like sold me. So there you go. The next book is Murder with Fried Chicken and Waffles by A.L. Herbert. So I thought this book had such a cute little cover, and I know some people are really into cozy mysteries. I don't think I've ever read a cozy mystery, so I'm gonna definitely try to read that in this, like, you know, colder season, hopefully this fall. So this is what this book is about. Welcome to Mahalia's Sweet Tea, the finest soul food restaurant in Prince George's County, Maryland. In between preparing her famous cornbread and mashed potatoes so creamy they'll make you want to slap your mama, owner Halia Watkins is about to dip her spoon into a grisly mystery. Halia Watkins has her hands full cooking, hosting, and keeping her boisterous young cousin, Wavon, from getting too sassy with customers. Having fast-talking entrepreneur Marcus Rand turn up in her kitchen is annoying enough when he's alive, but finding his dead body face down on her ceramic tile after hours is much worse. Marcus had his enemies, and the cast iron frying pan beside his corpse suggests that at last, his shady business deals went too far. Helia is desperate to keep Sweet Tea's name out of the sordid spotlight, but her efforts only make Wavon a prime suspect. Now, Halia will have to serve up the real villain before the killer returns for a second helping. This is so cute. I feel like I'm gonna read like a book that makes me like remind me of like, you know, black aunties and stuff, and that makes me really excited. So we're gonna have like my black auntie element, and then you're gonna have this cozy mystery element. I think it's so cute. So yes. The next book is Forbidden Promises by Cynthia Williams. Get In and Get Out. That was India Robideau's, I think that's how you say her name. Robideau's plan for this family visit. But when her brother needs her help with his high-profile political campaign, India has no choice but to stay and face the one man she's been running from for years, Travis, her sister's ex-husband. One hot summer night when Travis was still free, they celebrated her birthday with whiskey and an unforgettable kiss. The memory is as strong as ever, and so are the feelings she tried so hard to forget. Travis Strickland owns everything to the Robideau family. There's nothing he wouldn't do for them. His divorce could never change that. Still, he has one regret. Impulsive and passionate, India always understood him better than anyone else. And the longer they work together on the campaign, the more torn he is. Coming between her and her sister is out of the question. But how can he let love pass him by a second time? So I thought this was cute because it was just like a little, you know, steamy romance, like a little forbidden romance. It's like, what's going on? A little shady. But I just thought this would be like such a cute book for the fall because it seems like it's gonna get like, you know, a little cozy, a little cute. It's election season, so let's focus on an election that's funner, you know, one that has a beautiful black romance. Like, yes, those are the vibes. Those are the vibes that we want, not the real election, you know, not the real life stuff. So the next book is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. I don't know if it's Marlon or Marlon. Probably Marlon. Okay. In the first novel in Marlon James' Dark Star trilogy, myth, fantasy, and history come together to explore what happens when a mercenary is hired to find a missing child. Tracker is known far and wide for his skills as a hunter. He has a nose, people say. Engaged to track down a mysterious boy who disappeared 3 years earlier, Tracker breaks his own rule of always working alone when he finds himself part of a group that comes together to search for the boy. The band is a hodgepodge, full of unusual characters with secrets of their own, including a shape-shifting manimal known as Leopard. Drawing from African history and mythology and his own rich imagination, Marlon James has written an adventure that's also an ambitious, involving read. Defying categorization and full of unforgettable characters, Black Leopard, Red Wolf explores the fundamentals of truth, the limits of power, the excesses of ambition, and our need to understand them all. So this sounds so fascinating, like just like such a wild ride. It's mystery, suspense, thriller, fantastical, lots of things. Like it said, it crosses all categories. And then I think a lot of people might like that it draws from African mythology, so I just really wanted to share it with y'all. So you know, if you're into African mythology, maybe check that out. The next one is Finding Gideon by Eric Jerome Dickey. As a hitman from the time he was very young, money, women, and danger have always ruled Gideon's life. But for the first time, the job is taking its toll. Neither Gideon nor the city of Buenos Aires has recovered from the mayhem caused during Gideon's last jobs. But before the dust has settled and the bodies have been buried, Gideon calls in backup, including the lovely Hawks, with whom Gideon has heated memories, to launch his biggest act of revenge yet, one he believes will destroy his adversary Midnight once and for all. Yet Midnight and his second-in-command and beautiful and ruthless Senorita Raven are launching their own revenge, assembling a team of mercenaries, the likes of which the world has never seen. And Gideon isn't their only target. Gideon will need all of his skills if he is to save not only his team but his family as well. So I don't know if there's any Afro-Latin influences in Finding Gideon, but because of the blurb, I think there are, because they say Senorita, I mentioned Senorita, and it also mentions Buenos Aires, which is making me feel like it's kind of got an Afro-Latina theme to it. I'm not completely sure, but let me know if it is, if you guys end up reading it, or if I end up reading it, I'll talk about it. The next book is Real Men Knit by Kwana Jackson. When their foster-turned-adoptive mother suddenly dies, four brothers struggle to keep open the doors of her beloved Harlem knitting shop while dealing with life and love in Harlem. Jesse Strong is known for two things: his devotion to his adoptive mom, Mama Joy, and his reputation for breaking hearts in Harlem. When Mama Joy unexpectedly passes away, he and his brothers have different plans on what to do with Strong Knits, their neighborhood knitting store. Jesse wants to keep the store open. His brothers want to shut it down. Jesse makes an impassioned plea to Carrie Fuller, his childhood friend who has had a crush on him her entire life, to help him figure out how to run the business. Carrie agrees to help him reinvent the store and show him the nitty-gritty of the business, but the more time they spend together, the more the chemistry builds. Carrie, knowing Jesse's history, doesn't believe this relationship will exist longer than one can knit one purl one. But Jesse is determined to prove to her that he can be the man for her. After all, real men knit. I think that this story is beautiful. One, okay, I love stories that are set in like black influenced areas in New York, so really all over the world, honestly, or all over the US. So I really love that it's set in Harlem. I've been to Harlem before. There's so much culture and history there. Love the setting. I also love that it's focusing on like this softer side of black men, you know, knitting and in this hobby that we don't typically see them in. So I think that this is a beautiful story and I'm really excited to read it. The next one is Binding Shadows by Jasmine Silvera. There are two rules. Find a way to use your magic and never reveal it to anyone. Boom. Reading it already. Like, isn't that good? What? Okay, let me get to it. Hunting down lost books is more than a job. It's a way for Barbara to conceal her powers in the mundane world of the university library. One misstep and she risks exposure to ruthless necromancers willing to destroy anything supernatural they cannot control. But when the prickly new professor in charge of her latest assignment proves more than he seems, rules and reason are no match for her growing fascination. After years of battling to cage the beast within him, Tobias returns to Prague and the safety of his pack brothers. Unfortunately, his new job handling a collection of rare editions comes with a research assistant irresistible to both beast and man. Revealing his secret could endanger his entire family, and he refuses to risk passing on the curse in his blood. When the discovery of an enchanted book of spells triggers unpredictable surges in Barbara's magic, unleashing the beast within himself may be the only way to free her. Trapped between a witch and a necromancer, they must survive a perilous reckoning with the past, or neither will have a future. Binding Shadows is the first book in the Tooth and Spell trilogy and is as a prequel to Death's Dancer. So, love it already. Come on now, there's lots of reasons. It's set in like a bookish setting in a university library. It has fantastical elements, written by a black author. Boom, it's amazing. I'm excited. It sounds really good. That first little sentence tied me in already. So yeah. The next one is Master of Poisons by Andrea Hairston, or Master of Poisons by Andrea Hairston. The world is changing. Poison desert eats good farmland. Once sweet water turns foul. The wind blows sand and sadness across the empire. To get caught in a storm is death. To live and do nothing is death. There is magic in the world, but good conjure is hard to find. Djola, right-hand man and spy master of the Lord of the Archaisan Empire, is desperately trying to save his adopted homeland, even in exile. Alwa, a young woman training to be a powerful griot, tests the limits of her knowledge and comes into her own in a world of sorcery, floating cities, kindly beasts, and uncertain men. Awash in the rhythms of folklore and storytelling, and rich with Hairston's characteristic lush prose, Master of Poisons is epic fantasy that will leave you aching for the world it burns into being. So it sounds really, really interesting. I think that books that kind of focus on like a poison of the world are fascinating because, you know, we're going through everything that we're going through with global warming. So I think that this could be a really interesting read. I love the little part when they're like, are aching for the world it burns into being. Like that's really cool. I like that little statement. The next one, everybody I'm sure has heard of this one. It's Cinderella is Dead. Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. So it's 200 years after Cinderella found her prince, but the fairy tale is over. Teen girls are now required to appear at the annual ball where the men of the kingdom select wives based on a girl's display of finery. If a suitable match is not found, the girls not chosen are never heard from again. 16-year-old Sophia would much rather marry Aaron, her childhood best friend, than parade in front of suitors. At the ball, Sophia makes a desperate decision to flee and finds herself hiding in Cinderella's mausoleum. There she meets Constance, the last known descendant of Cinderella and her stepsisters. Together they vow to bring down the king once and for all, and in the process they learn that there's more to Cinderella's story than they ever knew. This fresh takes on a classic story will make readers question the tales they've been told and root for girls to break down the constructs of the world around them. Super beautiful, so it seemed like a feminist dystopian take on the Cinderella story. Love, but it sounds good, y'all. The next one is Legendborn by Tracy Deonne. After her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeding on human energies, a secret society of so-called Legendborn students that hunt the creatures down, and a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Marlon, and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage's failure unlocks Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mother died, another Marlon was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if that means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. She recruits Nick, a self-exiled Legendborn with his own grudge against the group, and their reluctant partnership pulls them deeper into the society's secrets and closer to each other. But when the Legendborn reveal themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and explain that a magical war is coming, Bree has to decide how far she'll go for the truth and whether she should use her magic to take the society down or join the fight. It sounds really, really good. We've got secret societies, we've got magic, we've got a whole mystery and fake getting in to like infiltrate to get information, that whole thing going on. A brewing magical war is going on. All the recipes for all the ingredients for a great book. I think it sounds really good. And last but not least, we have And Now She's Gone by Rachel Howzell Hall. It's up to Grayson Sykes to find her, although she is reluctant to track down a woman who may not want to be found. Gray's search for Isabel Lincoln becomes more complicated and dangerous with every new revelation about the woman's secrets and the truth she's hidden from her friends and family. Featuring two complicated women in a dangerous cat and mouse game, And Now She's Gone explores the nature of secrets and how violence and fear can lead you to abandon everything in order to survive. So that sounds super good. I hope you guys liked all of the books. Some of them, you know, more cozy mystery. We've got some romances, some fantastical, some thrillers. I hope you guys liked them, but I hope you guys like these books. Let me know if you read any of them, if any of them you're going to be adding to your TBR, and if you have any recommendations of fall books that I should read that are written by Black authors, then let me know. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye guys.